What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're back with another Destiny 2 video with a bunch more topics to round up and discuss. So there are actually a bunch of hidden vendors recently added into the game that seem to tie to a bunch of other missing loot that we've been waiting for quite a while. I also wanted to talk about some previously exclusive and unobtainable items from Season 1 of Destiny 2 that are going to be added into the game soon. We got some stuff about matchmaking, connections, and how you guys can actually change those settings, as well as a roundup of a bunch of news and important stuff you guys might have missed recently. So as always, a bunch of stuff in this one video. Of course, if you enjoy it, a like rating down below helps out a ton, and let's get into it. So there are actually a bunch of hidden vendors that Bungie recently added to the game in the latest update, and these most likely are going to be in some kind of future content, whether events or the Black Armory DLC or just random updates. The first one is listed in the game as a new vendor, but I don't think it's going to be like a new character. I think it's going to be an addition to Tess Everest's inventory. But this one is called the Temporal Surge, and it says only manifesting in this timeline for a short while, the Temporal Surge somehow brings Guardians echoes of beloved relics from past Eververse inventory. We've got firstly the featured items. These are 2 exotic emotes, mic drop, and also sweeping. So to refresh your memory, because of course there are a ton of emotes, these 2 in particular are actually from Curse of Osiris, so Season 2. Now in the secondary group of items, you've got a bunch of legendary emotes, so most of them are from the base game, a few from Curse of Osiris, and there's a tertiary one with blue emotes as well, again from Osiris in the base game. So it seems like the Temporal Surge is basically going to be a way to obtain previous Eververse items from old seasons that of course right now should technically be impossible to get, but this is going to be like a second chance. Also, the emotes are actually different and separate versions to the originals, so you've got sweeping temporal and mic drop temporal in the names and the titles. You actually see they're different. Also, just the icon in the top left, the little tag that should show the DLC, which should be Curse of Osiris, of course that's now got a new icon on it. So it's a pretty interesting concept, and of course let me know down below in the comment section, what do you guys think of this? Do you like the fact you can get new stuff you might have missed out on, or you're not happy that stuff you thought was exclusive is now going to be sold again? I think the most interesting of the new vendors are actually 4 new characters, so these are each tied to one of the main foundries in the game. So we've got a hacker vendor named Hektor 9940. His description is building reliable tools designed for soldiers in the field. Hacker values simplicity over intricacy, function over flair, hammers not scalpels. His inventory is split into 4 main groups, so we've got strike primary weapons and strike power weapons, and also PvP primary and PvP power weapons as well. Obviously every single item is some form of hacker weapon, so we've got blues, greens, and even purples, and also 3 shaders, so hacker history, camo, and also history polish. The vendor for the new Vice Foundry added of course in Destiny 2 is called a Viper 9940. Again, he's got a full range of Vice only weapons in every category, but also of course he's got the exotic colony, so that is in there as well. It is a Vice weapon after all. The next vendor is called Octavius 9940, and this is for Omlon, so a pioneer of energy weaponry. Omlon is the first foundry to experiment beyond the world of combustion, ballistics, the future returned. Octavius does also have the 2 Omlon exotics, so Cold Heart and Hard Light, are in his inventory as well. And now the 4th vendor is called Shinshu 9940 for Suros, so every curve, every line, every chamfer speaks to the Suros philosophy, elegance amid brutality. So one thing about all 4 of these vendors is all their names are 9940 at the end, so that of course means there's going to be some kind of sweep bot or frame or robot in the tower. If you look at the other characters in the game named 9940, they're all robots. So Archite, of course, Shax's assistant, the old Crucible Quartzmaster, and also Benedict, the raid sweeper bot. Now looking a bit further into these vendors and their inventories, I found one item which gives a bit of a clue as to how these vendors were supposed to be added to the game or might be sometime soon. So all 4 of these vendors have one item with no name, so I'm guessing it's temporary, but it's under the category of Arms Week intro, so that gives a massive clue. Of course, Arms Week was an event we saw back in the summer, which never made it into the game. Arms Week is actually Crucible and Strike playlists, but with fixed loadout. So you have to go in the set loadout that Bungie, I'm guessing, curates, and it's going to be similar to the prestige versions of the 2 raid layers. Now the name Arms Week of course comes from a system that was back in Destiny 1 called Arms Day. If you didn't play that game, it was basically a system where every Wednesday you could order weapons and get these loot drops that are special from foundries. And it does make perfect sense that these 4 vendors for the foundries would be tied to an event, of course tied to also foundries. Arms Day is rooted in that kind of whole tradition. So we are still missing a bunch of exotic catalysts for weapons. I mean, of course, initially about half of them were available, half just weren't, but also a couple of them were supposed to be inside this Arms Week event. So to get the hard light catalyst during Arms Week, you have to defeat 1,000 enemies and also complete the Sabathan's Song as a Nightfall. The Rat King catalyst is the same, so defeat 1,000 enemies with it and also do Sabathan's Song during Arms Week. Suros Regime is to defeat 300 enemies inside Crucible, again during Arms Week, and also do a strange terrain Nightfall, so Nocris. And the Prospector Grenade Launcher is to defeat 500 enemies and do an Arms Deal Nightfall, again during Arms Week. Funnily enough, the fighting line was also a part of this as well initially, so you would have to defeat 1,000 enemies with the fighting line, which is quite a lot for that kind of weapon, and also do a Pyramidion Nightfall again during Arms Week. So those are the only remaining catalysts of weapons we don't have just yet out of all the Destiny 2 Year 1 weapons. But now, of course, Forsaken added like 12 new exotic weapons, so we're not sure if we're going to get catalyst for those as well. I mean, those aren't in the database, so we don't know if they've been made yet. But of course, if we get some more news about the catalyst or the Arms Week event or these vendors, I'll let you guys know right here on the channel, so stay tuned. So next up, I wanted to talk about a really interesting device, and this is from the guys over at Netgear who kindly offered to sponsor this video. But this is an internet router, or router as you Americans call it, that is specialized for gaming. It's called the Nighthawk XR500, made by the company Netgear. I've had the chance to play with this thing and check it out for a while, and I do think it's something a lot of you guys could benefit from, especially with a game like Destiny. So one of its features that I personally really like is something they call the geo filter, and this basically lets you choose what lobbies you do and don't want to be connected to. But with this geo filter, you can say, I live in the UK, I only want to be matched with people also inside the UK, of course, for better connection and way less lag. This is the software that comes with it, and as you can see, you can set it by distance or country, location, radiuses, all that kind of stuff. So a feature like this works perfectly with a game like Destiny, because of course it doesn't have full dedicated servers, meaning the players in the lobbies are the host, and you can choose where those lobbies are going to be. I'll also let you in on a secret, but a lot of people who get into Bungie bounty lobbies are using routers like these to let them matchmake the city where the bounty is being held. You could also use this to match your friends in Escalation Protocol or Blind Well lobbies, set the filter to be only where your friends live, and of course you've got a much greater chance to matchmake with that friend. So as you can see, when I search for a lobby, there are people outside the radius that are too far away and it's not going to connect me to, and there are people inside that of course it has connected me to. So I set it to the UK, and every single person in this lobby is from the UK. I set it to Germany. Again, everyone here is German. I could also change it to Japan, and the game does try to find the lobby, but it couldn't find anyone at this time, so it put me in a lobby by myself in the tower. Again, empty lobbies might be something you want in certain PvE activities like Patrol, if you're sick of random shooting and taking blights all the time. But then if I search for Crucible, as you can see, I'll be here forever trying to find the Japanese lobby. So yeah, the geo filter is a really massive feature of this router. Instead of it being random like Destiny's matchmaking, the choice is pretty much up to you. Now, another big feature of this router is bandwidth allocation, or the anti-bluffer boat system. To put it simply, if someone else in your house starts using a bunch of internet, your game is not going to start lagging or disconnecting. You can basically choose to carve out percentages of internet between your devices, so PS4, Xbox, your phone, PC, anything, meaning at busy times when the internet starts getting eaten up in your house, your PS4 is always going to get that minimum that you set it to and not start lagging. But yeah, a very cool piece of tech, and I know it's something a lot of you guys could benefit from because it works so well with a game like Destiny, which is why I'm happy to promote it. Of course, if you want to check out the router and find out more, then I'll put a link at the top of the description to Netgear's website. So next up, let's talk about everything going down recently inside the world of Destiny, things changing, being added, and of course things coming soon in the future as well. In the latest weekly reset, Bungie did put in a new exotic emote that you may not have noticed, it was kind of snuck in there. This is one of those emotes that is not available in the Bright or Steadfast engram, so you can only buy this straight up through the package with silver. It's called the Misbehaving Bundle, which is a one-time for Guardians who understand the need to keep everyone's spirits up. Contains the exclusive Prankster Dance emote, the exotic one of course, and also the Arachnophile Transmat Effect and the Fireteam Medallion. The emote itself is probably one of the weirdest ones in the entire game, but it's pretty cool looking at the same time. It's actually from the new It movie. It's the dance that Pennywise, the demon clown thing, does, so it's a lot less creepy in this game and more just weird. I mean, obviously in the past, things like this have not gone down well, like the Iron Banner emote, which just was a massive controversy and huge backlash, but this I think is a bit different. I mean, the Iron Banner emote was obviously themed off the event, but the problem was that you could not get it from Iron Banner itself, so an Iron Banner themed item that you get from Eververse. This is just a really weird looking emote they just put in the game in charging for, so it's of course your choice if you want to buy it, but it's gonna be quite rare because it's quite expensive. And like I've said before, Eververse isn't really that hated these days because of course the game itself is actually good and rewarding, and Eververse as well has also got some pretty good systems. You got the prismatic facet, you got the knockout system, you've got a bunch more items to buy, everything's cheaper, more sources for bright dust, so Eververse is pretty decent these days. But of course, comment down below, what do you guys think of it? Do you like the Eververse system right now, and what do you think of the Prankster Dance? Now also with this reset, they did fix a few bounties that were glitched out and basically not rotating for a long time. So the Hawthorne Raid Challenge bounty has finally reset after like 4 or 5 weeks of just not changing. It was always the Summoning Ritual or the Witch one, which we already had of course. On that note, I know a lot of people don't actually know what this bounty is because they're not in clans, they can't see what it actually does and what rewards. This bounty is what used to be the challenge modes inside raids. So instead of doing a challenge inside a raid inside a given week, she instead offers offers these bounties, you do the challenge and it gives you the loot. I feel like it's one of the least talked about things in the Destiny community. Not many people know about it because, again, it is locked behind being inside a clan of a certain level. And then the reward for doing this is when you turn in the bounty, you get a powerful drop that's also a raid item, so you could get something really good. Another bounty that was actually glitched for a very long time, I think 4 weeks as well, was the Spider Wanted bounty for the Grave-Tide Summoner, so now it's finally reset to the Silent Fang. Something else definitely worth mentioning and being aware of for this reset is that this week, the Midnight Coup is being sold by Benedict, the Leviathan Superbot. Those of you that didn't play much or maybe at all during Destiny 2 Year 1, essentially the Midnight Coup is arguably the best primary weapon in the entire game. It's the Leviathan raid hand cannon, actually the rarest weapon in the entire raid because it only drops from Callus, the last boss encounter. I know a lot of people still don't have this weapon. I mean, I myself only got it back in August. My RNG was just awful. I've done like dozens of raids, but it never dropped for some reason. What you need to do to be able to buy it is do one Leviathan raid clear. So it's very easy. It's not difficult at all at these current power levels. As a tip, you don't actually have to do an entire Leviathan raid from start to finish. You can just get a Callus checkpoint and do the last encounter. Once you do it and complete it, it will count as a full raid completion. Either way, probably the best primary in the entire game is being sold. This is your heads up. On a similar topic, inside Escalation Protocol this week, all 3 of the weapons are actually dropping from the boss. So again, if you need them, especially the shotgun, definitely grab them. The curse in the Dreaming City is now back to its weakest point, so it's reset to week 1 out of 3, which means if you didn't get the Malfeasance boss last week, it's probably not going to happen this week. The good news though is that next week, of course, is the update where they're going to increase the chance of them spawning. The week after that is going to be a full curse again, and it'll spawn very, very often. In the same update, they're also going to be halving Sleeper's ammo inside Gambit, so be prepared for that to take a heavy nerf. They're also buffing swords, fusion rifles, and Malfeasance inside PvE. They're decreasing the chance of getting exotics you already have, so duplicates, which is very good. Nightfall drop rate is going to increase the more strikes you do without a drop. Masterwork cores from spider bounties and deleting shaders is going to be faster, but again, all that's happening next Tuesday. So there you go, a whole bunch of information that was hopefully useful to you guys. Of course, if you enjoyed the video and want to support it, a like rating before you leave is much appreciated. If you don't want to miss out on my future videos, then you can hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon next to it to be notified of every single new upload. Feel free to follow my Instagram and Twitter profiles, the link down below in the description, and clicking on this image will take you to a recent video of mine. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.